Good morning, friends, and welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Kat, and if you're new here, we've been baking our way through Some of My Best Friends Are Cookies by Emelia Jackson. If you've been here for a while, you will know that I have had a bit of trouble with my wrist, and I am going to be getting surgery on my wrist this week. So I'm going to be out for at least 3 weeks before I am able to use my right hand again. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to try and get a couple of biscuits made so that you guys aren't without a video while I'm recuperating. And if I don't heal as fast as I'm hoping, then I will get my daughter or my son to give me a hand in the kitchen. So the next recipe in the book is Twixies, which are a biscuit that is based on the Twix chocolate bar. It needs the dough to refrigerate overnight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make the dough for that right now and pop it in the fridge. And then I'm going to move on to the next recipe in the book, and I will come back to the Twixies tomorrow and finish them off with you then. So let's get started. So to start off, we need 95 grams of butter, and it's definitely getting warmer here in Australia, and my butter is actually starting to melt in the packet. And 90 grams of caster sugar. And we're going to cream these together. And so to that, we're going to add 2 egg yolks. And we're going to add 130 grams of plain flour. We're also going to add 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. That's the half. And half a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to mix that together. So that's our dough. And I did just reread it, and it actually says that we only need to chill this dough for a couple of hours. So I will actually get to these biscuits today. So our dough has chilled for nearly 2 hours. And the next thing that we need to do is roll it out fairly thick. We want it to be about 1 centimetre thick, or about half an inch. So I've got my largest setting on my rolling pin, which is 1 centimetre, or I think it's 3/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to try and roll this out. So I have sprayed my muffin tin with oil, And this only makes 12 biscuits, which I didn't realize at the time. Probably should have read that. But it's probably a good thing because I am going to be making a few different recipes this week, or today and tomorrow, so that I can go for my surgery without worrying about anything. And it says to just press them down into the bottom of the holes. So I've got 13, but I'm not going to dirty a second muffin tray just for one biscuit. So that 13th one and the teeny tiny one, I'm just going to bake that on a regular tray and have it as a biscuit. My oven is preheated to 180 degrees and these need to bake for about 12 minutes. So I have pressed an indent into these with my quarter cup measure, and now these need to go back into the oven for another 5 minutes. So these are baked and these need to cool in the tray for 10 minutes and then get turned out onto a rack to cool completely before we can do the next step. So our biscuits are cold. I took them out of the muffin tray and left them on the rack to cool. I did break one, so we'll see if I can make it work. Not sure how I'm going to get that to stick together, but we'll try. So the next step for these biscuits is to make our caramel. So what we need is a small saucepan with 120 mils of cream, and this is a 60 ml measure. And this does need to be thickened cream or whipping cream. So that was just a little bit under half. And we need to pop this onto simmer. And then in a large saucepan, we need 225 grams of caster sugar. So in this dish, I've got 125 grams of butter, and I've just added 1 teaspoon of salt, and I'm getting prepped my vanilla. So what we need to do now is start warming up our sugar until it starts to melt. So our cream is already at a simmering temperature, so I've just turned that off while we wait for our sugar to melt. And it says, because this is a dry caramel, it's just sugar in this pan. It doesn't matter about stirring it. So what we want this sugar to melt, which it has started doing, and we want it to get to a golden color. So the sugar is now all melted and it is a golden color. So now we need to add our cream, and it says it will splatter. And now that that's mixed in, we add our butter and our salt. There's still a lot of residual heat in this, and I should have mentioned that the stove is off after the sugar got melted. Then we need to add our 1 teaspoon of vanilla, And that is our caramel. We now need to turn the heat back on and cook this until it is 118 degrees Celsius. And it's currently 105 and climbing. 115. So this won't take very long at all to get that extra 3 degrees. 118. And we need to carefully pour this caramel into the base and then leave it to cool. And I am not sure of the best way to do that, but let's just try this. So I've just put a little bit of caramel into this broken one. I might just prop it up slightly. And pour in just a fraction more. So we'll see how that goes. And I do have quite a bit of caramel left over. So and now we have to leave those to cool again. So here I've got 150 grams of chocolate and it needs to be tempered. So I melted half of it and then I've added the other half and I'm using the residual heat in the melted chocolate to melt the rest of the chocolate. And our Twixies have had the caramel set up quite nicely. I used a little bit of the firming caramel on that broken one to just kind of attach the side. And it's holding well enough that I'll be able to use that one for a taste test. So that's pretty smooth. And we just need to put a couple of teaspoons of chocolate onto the top of each biscuit. So because this chocolate is tempered, it doesn't take very long to set at all. And my husband has just walked in and he would like to taste one. So one for you and one for me. Let's give them a try. That's amazing. That does taste like a Twix. I was a little concerned when I tasted the caramel that it tasted a little bit toffee-ish, but it completely works with the biscuit. It's a bit soft. I'm sure that will continue to firm up as it cools further. But that's absolutely delicious. Thanks for being here with me today as we made these Twixie biscuits. If you would like, I'll pop another video here that you can enjoy between now and my next upload. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you next time. Bye for now.